Portland and LAFC played a highly entertaining game at the reopening of Providence Park. Atlanta United kept their season turnaround going. And can the New England Revolution start to dream about the playoffs? This is Just Offside. What is up? Welcome to Just Offside, the weekly MLS show where we take your comments and talk about them. My name is Louie, and before we get into your comments from last week, if you're new here, this is Trebl, and we are a channel for Americans who love soccer, by Americans who love soccer, and we post this show every single week. So if you're new here, come over here, hit that subscribe button, and help us get to 500 subscribers. We are so close, guys. We're so close, we can almost taste it. Oh, and we also post a lot of really cool other videos every single week in the American soccer perspective. But all right, let's get to your comments from last week. Sebastian Arake354 said, Philly still got nothing. And Ren1018 said, I don't think you are being too hard on Philly. I think team isn't as good as record says they are. Yeah, I mean, it really does feel that way. Even though this week I have started to change a little bit about how I feel about them after a pretty gritty win. I still think they need to take it up another notch because they don't fully convince me that they're top level quite yet. Jordy Munoz says, we gonna talk about how trash this new Liga MX and versus MLS Cup is gonna be. Man, I hate the idea of the stupid fucking cup. First off, who picked these teams? Why these four teams? What makes these four MLS clubs the best MLS clubs to play against Liga MX clubs? Don't we already have the CONCACAF Champions Leagues where the best teams of each country are playing each other? Why are we now having the secondary tournament where there's only 8 teams playing and it's 4 teams that are not really that great? Was it just their team owners' turns to make money? Especially if all of these games are taking place on US soil, they're all just gonna be making the money and splitting it up anyway. Overall, I hate this idea. I think it's stupid. It's such a blatant money grab that I can't get behind it, man. Like, none of it even sounds interesting. Who wants to watch it? Like, is anyone gonna care if they win? Like, if you win this tournament, why do you care? It irritates me on every single level, and I hate it to its core. Brad Jr. 10 says, the Atlanta United loss is just as sad as Mikey falling off the flat earth, never to be seen on the channel again. Do not worry, Michael will be back. He is not here with us, and hopefully after the MLS break, he will be back. So do not fret, Michael is still part of the channel. He's still one of my best friends. He's family to me. He will be back, don't worry. WM19 said, this channel is such a great soccer channel. I don't understand how you guys don't have more subscribers already. First of all, thank you so much for your kind words. We work our asses off to make sure that we are putting out the best content for you guys and making sure that we're getting better week in and week out. As for the number of subscribers, that is up to the people watching this video. And if you're watching this video and you don't subscribe, come over here and please hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of the summer. So please come over here and hit that subscribe button. And finally, Gabe Pereira says, great work. Love you, Gabe. But alrighty, guys, let's move on to this past week's action. Oh, and don't forget, while you're watching this video, at any point, whatever pops into your head, whatever comment you want to make, write it in the comments below so that way next week we can talk about it, all right? But all right, let's jump in. Our first game, Atlanta United versus Chicago Fire. Just like that, Atlanta has completely turned their season around. And there was a small chance that Atlanta could have finished this past weekend sitting in number 1. Luckily, both DC and Philly got some results, so it kept Atlanta still in 3rd, but Atlanta is surging. We've talked extensively about how horribly Atlanta has started this season on this show, and the fact that Josef Martinez was basically a ghost for the first couple of weeks of this season. But the man, the myth, the legend has returned, and in a big, big way. He scored both of Atlanta's goals to give Atlanta the 3 points and the win, bringing his total to 9 goals in the last 10 games and 10 goals overall. And for as high flying as Carlos Vela has been, Josef's not that far behind him in the scoring charts. A couple more performances like this, he could probably catch up to Carlos Vela. Atlanta United have been without Ezequiel Barco for a couple of weeks now, and we talked about how much that was going to impact Atlanta since Barco has been one of their best players over the entire season. But everybody started to slowly pick it up for Atlanta, including Pity Martinez. And honestly, what I need to know is, when will Pity Martinez and Josef Martinez start linking up like this every single week? Because I need this week in and week out. These two guys complement each other so well. Josef Martinez is a natural born goal scorer, finisher, and Pity Martinez is one of the most creative players on the planet. Just look at that assist that he gave to Josef. The vision, the accuracy of that pass, just to put Josef on goal to score that. I need to see that every single week. These guys can be a killer 1-2 punch. Atlanta have now won 7 of their last 9 and have climbed up all the way to 3rd in the East. So my question to you guys is, will Atlanta overtake Philly and DC by the end of the season and finish the season in number 1 in the East? Don't forget, Ezequiel Barco is coming back to join this team, and if Atlanta can completely right the ship by the time he returns, it'll just make them even stronger by the time he gets back. I know that they lost a lot of players, but this is still a lot of the same core players that won the MLS Cup last year. But moving along, guys, what did I say about DC letting that top spot slip? What did I tell you? Atlanta's now back in the mix for the top of the East. Philly's now sitting in number 1. DC should have had a stranglehold on the East, but it seems like they're just letting it slip. Of course, they're not terrible performances because they're getting a lot of draws, but they really should be winning these games. I understand the San Jose team has become a lot more fun to watch, and they've been kind of on the resurgence as well. But man, it just seems like DC aren't at top speed. It seems like they're stuck at like 60% strength, and it's just like, for a team that is so exciting on paper, it just hasn't been translating into results over the last couple weeks, and it's very frustrating because I love this DC side. They look good, they have the right pieces, but what is it? What's causing DC to slip like this? I know it's not really a slip, and they're still sitting near the top of the East, but what's causing these weird kind of lapses? And I told you guys last week, San Jose is going to continue to stick around and continue to be a nuisance. At the beginning of the season, if you had told me DC were playing San Jose, I was going to tell you that DC was going to put 7 past San Jose. And that probably would be being generous to San Jose. But I told you guys, San Jose's sticking around. They're going to be a nuisance. They may not be challenging for the top of the West, but they're going to cause problems for teams. But moving along to our next game, Philly went to Minnesota to play the Loons, and what a cracking game. We had so many good games this weekend. I said last week that Philly needed to capitalize against Colorado, and they couldn't really do that. Colorado snuck away with a point, but at the weekend, Philly went to Minnesota, and luckily they were able to walk away with the 3 points. Minnesota has been pretty good at home this season, and quite honestly, they probably should have beaten Philly. Philly didn't really deserve to win this game. To give you an idea, Minnesota took 29 shots and 15 of them were blocked. Those are crazy numbers to get off 29 shots in a game. That's wild. Philly did win, and that's the important part, because these are the kind of wins that show a team's merit, and it shows their heart. And if Philly can keep grinding out these results when they shouldn't be grinding out these results, that is going to start changing people's opinion on them. And so for Philly, despite having their backs against the wall, playing away from home, and getting thoroughly outplayed by Minnesota United, they still walked away with the 3 points, and that is the most important part of it. It was a super gritty performance, and it really, really showed Philly's heart. But let me know, guys, has Philly done enough to convince you? Are you still unsure about them? Can they possibly make a run to the MLS Cup Finals at the end of this year? Let me know in the comments below. And moving along to the most hype, most insane, craziest game of the weekend, the Portland Timbers hosting LAFC. Did no one give LAFC the memo? This was Portland's party. After spending the first 12 weeks away from home to start the season as they finished renovations on Providence Park, the Timbers were finally home in front of that amazing crowd. It was supposed to be their party, but LAFC had to just go be good at soccer and stuff and spoil the party. LAFC would end up winning 3-2 over Portland, but like I said, this game was amazing. It was hype, it was dramatic, there was phenomenal finishes. It was so great. But despite losing, it wasn't all bad for Portland. Their new star, Brian Fernandez, kept his blazing hot run of form going in this game, and he scored a beautiful bicycle kick late on, which unfortunately would end up being only a consolation, but Brian Fernandez was everywhere in this game. He was involved in every single one of Portland's best chances. All of the best chances Brian Fernandez was on the end of, and I'm so excited to see where he goes with Portland this season and what he's going to be able to do for them, because he is a certified baller. Quick shout out to the traveling LAFC supporters who, you guys gave me goosebumps. The fact that you traveled from LA to Portland, which is not a short flight, it is not a short distance traveled, and you guys were out there in numbers supporting your club. You guys are wild. You guys were in an entire section in Providence Park, which is one of the best venues in all of the MLS, and you guys are catching some headlines. Like, I love it. And honestly, it goes without saying that Carlos Vela scored, right? Like, we should all just assume that another game, another Carlos Vela goal. But I want to talk about someone who doesn't get as much recognition as he should. Latif Blessing has been an absolute blessing to this team. And what's crazy is that he has cemented his spot over Lee Nguyen and Andre Horta. Lee Nguyen, who has been one of the best midfielders in the MLS over the last decade, and Andre Horta, who was one of the best players in the Portuguese league last season, yet Latif Blessing is now playing over both of them. That's just insane. And Latif Blessing's spark and energy were rewarded when he crossed the ball out wide, made a run down deep towards goal, and received the ball back. It was basic give and go soccer, but it was just beautiful. And he just finished it off to give LAFC the 3 points and the win over Portland. He has been almost like the cog that has been making everything work for LA. Except I don't want to say that because it seems like everybody in LA has just been playing up to the greatest standards that they have. And honestly, I don't even have any questions to ask you guys about this game. The only thing I want to say is, what do we have to do so that every MLS match is like this? Like, can every game be as good as this one? Because this is what the MLS could be. Two of the best teams with the best fan bases in all the MLS meeting, and it was an electric atmosphere, and it was just phenomenal for American soccer for this to happen. But alright guys, moving along to our next game, FC Dallas versus the Seattle Sounders. Riddle me this. 3 different Seattle Sounders players score, yet Seattle still loses 2-1. How does that even happen? Both of FC Dallas's goals came from crosses from Michael Barrios. And honestly, the finishing on the end of those crosses was pretty good. Except for the fact that, it was by the team that was supposed to be defending the cross, not attacking the cross. So like, yeah, sure, FC Dallas won, but did they really win? Like, can you really count this as a win? When both of, I don't know, it was a weird one. It was a weird one for me. It was an absolute stinker of a game for Seattle, who have now only won 2 of their last 9. And this is very poor from a club that we've come to expect so much from. And a club that went on a very, very serious run earlier this season. I mentioned months ago that Seattle usually goes on these runs. Usually it starts midway through summer and it goes into the playoffs, but it seems like Seattle cashed their run in at the beginning of the season, which I warned everybody about, and now they just seem to be floundering. And Seattle supporters, what needs to change? What's going on with the team? How do you guys pick it back up? Because quality is there. The Sounders have a phenomenal squad. What's going on? What's causing this slip of form? Moving along to our next game, Orlando versus the Montreal Impact. Orlando won 3-0. And for Montreal, it's a little weird because this was a team that had built a weird cushion at the beginning of the season, and we had talked about them getting a couple of wins and going on a good run of form, but they've completely regressed since that point. And last week, I talked about Nani needing to stop taking penalties, and it seems like maybe I just need to stop talking so much shit because he heard it, scored a PK to make it 100 career goals for him. So, I'm sorry, Nani, I still love you, and honestly, I just need to praise you, man. 100 career goals. That's incredible. Congrats. This was an encouraging win for Orlando, who have been in dire need of some encouragement. Because, they've been in the MLS for several years, and their greatest contribution was just bringing Kaká to the MLS for a couple of years. And that's not really saying much. And there is now news and some rumors swirling around about ownership of Orlando wanting to sell the team to someone else. So Orlando City supporters, how do you feel about this? Do you want the owner to sell the club? Is it scary? What's going on? How do you feel about those rumors? But all right, moving along to our next game, Colorado versus FC Cincinnati. Yo, what the frick? 0 wins all season, and now all of a sudden, the Colorado Rapids have not lost in 4 games, and they've won 3 of those and only tied 1. Colorado would beat FC Cincy 3-1, and they did so pretty convincingly. Andre Shinyashiki has been an absolute revelation for the Colorado Rapids, and he looks like a stud. I do feel bad for FC Cincy as things it doesn't seem like there's any light at the end of this tunnel for them. It seems like things are going from bad to worse week over week, and I really do feel for you guys. You have an amazing fan base, and you really should expect more from your club, and they just seem to be disappointing you on the field. We are barely at the halfway point of the season, and I really don't see things getting better. They have lost 8 of their last 9. And it really comes to mind, was the firing of the coach done at the right time. It didn't seem like they even had a plan and they just reacted. Like, it seems very messy over there in FC Cincy. So, FC Cincy supporters, I don't know. Let me know how can we get better? How can you guys just start doing a little bit better? What do you need to see change? And Colorado Rapids supporters, what makes you most excited about this team? Is it the emergence of these young players? Is it the fact that they're finally able to click and get results? What's exciting you the most about this Colorado team? And now moving along to the last game we're going to be covering this week. The New England Revolution traveled to LA to face the Galaxy. And the Revs actually got a win. And it was a good win against an LA team that has Zlatan Ibrahimovic in it. We've seen that every time Zlatan plays, LA usually get a victory this season. The fact that they're still sitting in second in the West is proof of that. It was Bruce Arena's first game on the sideline for the Revs against the club that he basically built. And it was really great to see. And I hate how the Revs keep doing this to me. I actually sat down and watched a majority of this game live at 10:30 at night on a Sunday in New England. I should have been asleep. I had just gotten off work and I actually sat down and watched this whole game. And the Revs just looked good. They were defending like crazy. They looked like they actually were wanting to play with each other. They didn't look like this disheveled, dismembered team that they had been looking like for weeks at the beginning of the season. It looked like the guys out there were finally able to connect passes and actually play good football. LA Galaxy did have a majority of the possession, but the Revs kept hitting them on the counter. Christian Pinilla had like 4 wide open chances that he missed and then finally scored when David Bingham kind of helped usher it into the goal with his botch save. Carles Gil was a monster this game. He was everywhere. He was creating from every different angle for the Revs. And honestly, the Revs probably should have scored a lot more goals. Diego Fagundes hit one off the top bar. Juan Agudelo had some really good chances. Man, it was such a weirdly encouraging game for the Revs that it was hard not to get excited. But of course, Zlatan just had to go and be Zlatan and score a banger of a bicycle kick that he set up for himself. Like, that was just trademark quintessential Ibra. And of course, the only thing anybody's talking about from this game is the fact that Ibra scored that bicycle, which I get. It's Zlatan. He's one of the best players on the planet, whatever. I get it. But it kind of hurts me because the Revs finally put a really good convincing display in and no one's really talking about it. So that really does irk me a bit. But the Revs are now unbeaten in 4 games, and I hate to say this and I keep getting sucked back in, but I'm gonna have to. The Revs are just 2 points below the playoff line in the East. Can Bruce Arena and the Revs shock everybody and actually make the playoffs this year? I hate how they do this to me. They suck me back in every time. And I get weirdly excited. I know a train wreck is probably coming in the next couple weeks. I really do think the Galaxy are over-reliant on Ibra. During this game, every single pass, every time they were going forward was making its way to Zlatan. And I get it. He's a baller. He's a creator. He is everything on the pitch. But the fact that every time they got the ball, they pass it to him, even when it didn't really make that much sense for the play, it just shows their over-reliance on him. I get it, he's a freak of nature and he can create something out of thin air as exemplified by his bicycle kick, but what happens if he's hurt again? What happens if he gets suspended again? They are sitting in second in the West and they look good, but what happens if Ibra misses some more time? It just doesn't feel like the LA Galaxy have a plan B. But alright guys, there you have it, another episode of Just Offside. Make sure you're leaving your comments down below so that we can feature you in next week's episode. That's it from me, and we'll catch you guys next week. Hey, the Women's World Cup kicks off on Friday and they have really sick jerseys, and we did a video counting down the top 5 best jerseys from this summer's World Cup, so check that out right over here. We also have a podcast called Culture FC that we release every single week, and we cover all of the things surrounding the beautiful game, but just none of the results happening on the pitch. You can check out the latest episode right here. I love you!